Now I got stage 4 liver fibrosis, and I'm trying to deal with the pain of my liver. And, I'm basically waiting on this dispensary thing to open up.
It's time to consider cannabis. I'm your host, Curtis. I first met Mark Black on Facebook. We had both commented on a post from the Ohio Medical Marijuana Discussion Group. As we started talking about possibly doing an interview, I clicked on his Facebook page, I looked at some of his posts, and I could tell that he had a different worldview than I did. But in this day and age of divide and offense, it's important for us to not think about the things that separate us and concentrate on the things that we have in common. Mark is actually the first interview I did for this podcast. He was very excited about being able to share his story and have his voice heard. So we found some time to talk via Skype. And since Mark didn't know me from Adam, I started the conversation by letting him know who I am and what my story is. And if you would like to know and haven't listened to the first episode of this podcast, go back, listen to it, and you will know everything that I told Mark. But we're not going to listen to that again this episode. We're just going to get right to the interview. So I took it. I'm off lithium. I'm off Prozac. I'm just using CBD right now, and it's great.
Right.
But the chronic pain is still keeping me up at night. So I'm hoping that the entourage effect of everything else the plant has to offer will help me sleep and live a better life.
THC.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of the pain stuff is THC.
Yeah.
I know that I've always smoked ever since I was little, and now I got stage 4 liver fibrosis, and I'm trying to deal with the pain of my liver, and I'm basically waiting on this dispensary thing to open up. And I know that they can get a lot better stuff than I could ever get. And I know that they actually put me on, well, they didn't put me on anything. They told me to take THCV because I'm overweight, and they said that it would help me lose weight.
No kidding.
Yep. I have a pretty beneficial website. It's called cannasense.com, SNCE or SE.
Oh, okay. Sense. Okay.
Cannasense.
Right.
They actually have a bubble type of, it says your symptom, and then you match it up with what cannabinoid you need.
Oh, nice.
So it's a pretty beneficial website.
So you say you've been smoking cannabis since you were a youth?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's probably 12.
12?
Yeah, I lived out in the 125 acres surrounding me of cornfields. So I didn't get into trouble in town. So I've always kept my nose clean though. So, but I'm with you on the God thing, and I think that if a lot more people started using it, it would really bring their life forward. The way I look at it is, you can have a scientist shove some chemicals in a capsule and then give it to a lobbyist to go to your doctor, and then your doctor gives you those chemicals.
Right.
Or you can do it the non-chemical way, which is God put a plant for every disease there is on this earth. That's the way I look at it.
It's funny. I asked my daughter the same thing. She's 7, and I said, "Hey, sweetie, should I take chemicals from my doctor, or should I take a plant from the earth?" And she's like, "No brainer, Dad. A plant from the earth."
That's right.
So Mark, tell me a little bit about yourself. You started smoking when you were 12. What did that do for you as a kid?
Well, I think it brought me into a state of homeostasis, kind of level with everything.
Hmm.
It kept a smile on my face. Um, I kind of had a little rough of a childhood, but um, you know, everybody does.
Sure.
So, I had a family that owned a lot of bars around town, and my problem, the reason I got stage 4 liver fibrosis is because marijuana wasn't legal.
Hmm.
So I did the cheap route and, just got grapes and made my own wine and my own alcohol and made my own hard liquor from the wine. And then now I have stage 4 liver fibrosis, which is pretty much hard fatty liver.
So is that from the fact that you were drinking so heavily, or because the alcohol was not made correctly, or both, or how did that play out?
Actually, the liver fibrosis deal happened recently because my brother died and I used alcohol as the crutch.
Ah,
So I chugging a fifth of whiskey a day and it basically pickled my liver.
yeah.
So now I gotta, try to eyes forward. I got a 16-year-old girl. I'm 47 years old. I shouldn't be in this condition.
Right. Living with that condition at your age, are you getting stigmatized by people in your life at all?
Oh, wow. I was always the black sheep because I was the one that always drank and smoked weed. I tried not to do other drugs, but that kind of fell into place too. But I would say if marijuana was legal from the get-go, then I wouldn't be in the condition I'm in. I would use that versus alcohol any day of the week.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, alcohol you gain weight. Yeah, you know
Hmm.
it's bad.
For myself and the listeners who don't know that much about liver fibrosis, are you waiting on a transplant? Are you going to be able to recover? Like, how is this going to work for you in the future?
Well, I know that marijuana has anti-inflammatory properties,
Hmm.
and I know that taking marijuana helps with a lot of different things. It helps with mood. It helps with kind of stability. It puts you, as I said, in a state of homeostasis.
Yeah, I know that there's been some really good new research on the endocannabinoid system, but I don't have that information with me. But yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Well, if God didn't want us to have cannabinoids in our system, He wouldn't have made marijuana. And marijuana is not the only place you can get cannabinoids. You can get it from seeds. I forget what kind of seeds, but you can get them from um, those small mushrooms that the pigs dig up.
The truffles?
Truffles, that's right. Those have it in it. You know, cannabinoids aren't just from marijuana. It's just the plant is packed full of it.
So, do you have any other plans to help increase your wellness other than adding marijuana into your daily routine?
Well, actually, I got a better diet, and I mean, you can't just say, "Wow, it's the cure all," but it cures a lot.
No, that's good to hear. I don't really know you that well to know what kind of plans you've put in your life, but I definitely believe that marijuana can help in your overall wellness. Obviously, yeah, like you said, it's not a cure-all. There's lots of different factors that we put into our life: plenty of hydration, balanced diet, moderate exercise, good sleep.
Yes. Well, and you also got to look at it like this. You can take a handful of any medication and probably end up dead. You take a handful of marijuana, you might go to sleep or eat something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So have you been able to obtain your recommendation?
I have my doctor recommendation. I got it from Ohio Marijuana Card.
Oh, me too.
Yep. And they seem pretty knowledgeable there too.
Are you able to find some medicine on the black market at the moment?
There's no other place to get it, and it's a law here in Ohio. So, you just kind of got to be careful and improvise. You can
Yeah,
get stuff from using Bitcoin. There's a lot of California places that'll send it to you.
really? Okay.
Yep. I know that there's a lot of different avenues you can take, but I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to break a law.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, that sounds risky for me as well as for, them.
Right. Well, and you don't know who's on the other end of that Western Union either.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think the first day I joined a marijuana page,
Uh-huh.
I got 2 friend requests from people who were talking about, oh, call this number and we'll send you marijuana. And I was like, who are you? Like,
Right.
yeah, you say you're from Colorado and that you got good bud, but I have no idea who you are. I don't trust you with a felony.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't want to, I don't want to have to go to jail for my illness.
Right.
That would be horrible.
It really would.
I mean, I have a 16-year-old and, she's all for me doing it. She sees that it gets me out of the chair and gets me up and moving.
Well, I mean, I'm just glad that you're not sitting high and dry. I mean, I've got some pretty significant pain in my neck and my back, but I know that there's people out there that are in a worse situation than I am, and I'm glad that at least for you in your situation that you're able to find some way, as risky as it may be, to get yourself into a position where you can live your best life.
See, but part of the problem with that is I'm off work because of my condition,
Hmm.
and I'm waiting on Social Security, which says that they have 7 more months before I'm in front of a judge, and they, I have no money to pay for this stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's another fight. I mean, if it was legal on the federal level, it would be able to be processed through an insurance company.
Yeah.
But since it isn't, I'm stuck.
Yeah, and you would have better chance of being able to grow some on your own for your own supply to help supplement those expenses.
Right. If it was legal on a federal level.
Right, right.
Since on a state level, even if I have the medical marijuana card, I can't grow my own plants here in Ohio.
Yeah.
So, if it's legal on the federal level, there's a better possibility of, I mean, a state can definitely make a law up and say, hey, you can't do this, but there's a lot better chance of, if it was legalized federally, then we wouldn't run into that problem as much.
What I like about the idea of there being some regulation is getting the peace of mind for people like me who are a little anxious, a little paranoid, that what I'm getting is actually what they say I'm getting. And I would be able to know that this flower has a 50-50 while this one is THC dominant. It'd just be really good for that.
And another viewpoint of that is, in Ohio here, all the stuff will be lab tested,
Mm-hmm.
where other states it's not, and they can put 80% THC on the package. Well, here it'll be lab tested to 80%.
Yeah, and I understand that there's going to be some, not everything's going to be perfect. I understand, like, if you look at food labels and the way you have to say how many grams of protein and fats and carbs and everything, there's like a margin of error in there, especially like with calories. So I get that everything's not going to be 100% perfect, but I'm all for some regulations.
Oh, I am too, because regulations will bring out better product.
Yeah.
There should be some type. Now, I do also think that, there should be medical marijuana, and I think there should be up to the person recreational marijuana. I think recreational is a harsh word to slap with that, because it makes it sound like you're only doing it to have a fun time,
Mm-hmm.
where you may just want to self-medicate.
Yeah, it's an interesting distinction between vocabulary in that regard, because I absolutely do believe that cannabis can be used to treat things and illnesses, and I think that it should be allowed to and should be encouraged for people to treat their diseases with medical marijuana. But marijuana has so many good qualities just for your overall wellness that just because it can be used as medicine doesn't mean it should only be used as medicine.
Right. Well, another thing is my 16-year-old daughter from, I don't know, probably the 6th grade on, has been on Focalin, which is a amphetamine.
Mm.
So I can watch my daughter go from hyper to glassy-eyed and just, I don't even know her.
Right.
And that's horrible. And that makes me feel bad as a parent. It makes me feel like the school systems only use it for babysitting purposes.
Yeah.
That's rough.
That is rough. Yeah. Yeah, it really is a disappointing state that we live in, where the pharmaceutical companies have been able to make so much money and lobby so well to the point where we're under their thumb.
Right. It's like the oil companies.
Mm-hmm.
There has been electric cars in the early days versus gas cars, but the oil companies tap that down, basically.
Yep.
So,
Well, Mark, is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners before we wrap up?
just be safe, try to make the right decisions, and yep. So, well, that's about all I have there. So,
awesome. Well, Mark, I really appreciate your time, and be blessed.
All right, and God bless you as well.
Thank you, sir. As I think about this interview with Mark, I can't help but be grateful that we had the time to talk to each other. And honestly, if it wasn't for this podcast, I probably never would have had that conversation with Mark. I never would have got to know his story and to hear his heart. If I were to just have seen his comment on Facebook and looked at his page and seen that we have different political viewpoints, it very easily could have ended right there, or possibly even have escalated into some sort of pointless conflict with internet jabs. But again, when we take the time to look at what we have in common and focus in on the fact that we're people who've made mistakes, we now live in the consequences of those mistakes, but we want a second chance to live our best life and to have the best quality of life possible. And for people like me and Mark who live with chronic pain, cannabis provides that opportunity for us to be able to get off the couch and engage in our children's lives, in our families' lives, and in the world around us. Pain hurts. Obviously not a profound statement, but it can leave us debilitated. It can leave us depressed. It can leave us on the floor and not living our best life. So if that's you out there today, I'd urge you to consider cannabis as an option, to put aside the pills and the pharmaceuticals from your doctors and give this natural treatment a chance. One word of warning before we go is that I cannot recommend highly enough for you to not order cannabis online or over the phone. Do not mail order cannabis. Don't go that route. You will probably regret it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just paranoid. But don't do it! Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of Consider Cannabis. You can find us on Facebook. You can also find us on our website, considercannabisnow.com. If you know of anybody who you believe may benefit from using cannabis as a treatment for their ailment, please share this podcast with them. Join me next time and we'll consider cannabis together.